What is up, guys? Lindy Enzone is back with another video today. I'm treating you pretty well with 2 in 1 day. I obviously don't get to do that often, but since I did miss a week and the amount of time that I missed just so unluckily happened to be in the middle of a 5 game winning streak for the Dallas Mavericks that I did not see coming personally. Especially especially with Porzingis being on and off the court, I guess with his load management, and he had some knee issues, and he's got some. I think he has some wrist issues now too. But man, they're whew, and I think that's going to be one of the questions that I'm going to try to answer today in this video is, are the Dallas Mavericks really hitting their stride at the right time? But before I get into that, if you watch my previous video on the film room reaction that Nick Sirianni done with Fran Duffy for the Eagles, I believe it was yesterday or today. I do not remember when the video came out, but if you watched that video, again, I appreciate y'all. And I mentioned in that video about how I'm trying to get something cool together here, um, really for next week, for you basketball fans, Sixers fans that watch my videos with the Mavs. Our team pays the Sixers a visit. Yeah, so let me. I'm actually going to check right now. I want to be correct on this, but I want to double check. So yes, the Sixers pay Dallas a visit. So Sixers fans, y'all are coming to our court, get a face off, second game of the season. I believe we play Philly only twice. So being that, I wanted to try and get something big, um, a special collaboration next week. I hope it pans out. I contacted this person today, making sure how their schedule is. Um, but I will keep y'all in the loop, probably on Twitter or in one of my upcoming videos later this week. But if it falls through for those Sixers content creators, if you want to hit me up, get some uh, get some kind of pregame assessment going on at some point next week or even this weekend, whatever it may be. I am open to hanging out with you Sixers content creators, and let's get to talking basketball because I'm excited about this next matchup. Um, the first game is, I think, on both ends, not exactly what we kind of expected. Both teams played a bit sloppy, but I'm going to keep that kind of content and save it for the right moment. Um, Depending on what happens. But good, I'm sticking with my first plan for now. Hopefully, it comes into the works. I'll be very excited if it is because I would love to work on a collab with this guy. Um, I love his work on YouTube, and he's been quite a help. He's been quite a help for me with my channel. Questions here and there that I've had, and that's what I love about the YouTube community in general when we talk about sports and whatnot, and how we're just able to easily communicate with each other. It's a blessing, honestly. Just being a human being, it's cool. But yeah, I carried that a bit too long, but let's get into it. So, like I said, unfortunately, I really wish that I was a part of a play-by-play or something in this time off. And I'm so bummed that I missed this winning streak. And we recently took down the Utah Jazz. I was not expecting that, especially without Kristaps Porzingis. Um, you know, Luka is Luka's really handling the show there, and who man, it's crazy. So I conjured up a couple of stats up here that I'm going to go over because I really want to figure out if with how well the Mavericks are doing, and it could be very possible that if Luka played the previous two games before this winning streak started, we lost to the Pacers, and then we lost to the Pelicans. Luka did not play those two games, so I got to thinking that if he did play those two games, we could be on a 7-game win streak right now, and we're trying to stay above the San Antonio Spurs. We're trying to catch the Portland Trail Blazers, get higher in the seedings, so we don't really have to be in the play-in games. That's what I'm really hoping for with this team, because if we catch our stride once again, like we did last year in that historic offensively rated season, we could be a sneaky dark horse contender in the playoffs, because a lot of people in the beginning of the year were pretty disappointed as to how we were performing, and I feel that, and this goes for a lot of teams, and you don't build chemistry on the court with just at practice. It's got to come. It's not necessarily in scrimmages, and it's not in preseason games. Not to not to the not to the degree that you would want it to be. That that translates better in the regular season. Full competition, you know, faster, quick wits, thinking on your feet, how you're going to attack defenses, and just exploit the mismatches and all that jazz. So Luka, as we know, he rightfully won Player of the Week. Definitely deserved it. One could argue that the strength of schedule was kind of poor. There's a game in there against Boston, the Knicks, um, OKC, the Spurs. So a lot of the teams aren't necessarily intimidating, but what stuck out to me is, and it's been such a constant criticism, that he's not a good three-point shooter. Well, it's not true, because he lit it up in the months of February and March. And as you can see on the screen, on an average of 9 attempts, he's shot 44% from three. That's pretty damn good as to where he was coming into this year. He was, I remember in January, as you can see, he was only about 33%. It's really piss poor, and I get it. The other night, he only shot 1 of 8. I know, but a lot of that comes to his shot selection. There's times where it's an unnecessary case of dribbling out the shot clock, and then you get stuck in a spot where you don't really want to be, and then you have to go with your gut and chuck it up. And there's been times where he hasn't had the greatest shot selection, and that could be attributed to the lower 3-point percentages. But the myth of him not being a very good 3-point shooter is false for the most part. I mean, the stats don't lie, as I got on screen here. But at the same time, like, you can see where the percentage is coming from. And if I scroll down here, just to make sure I don't forget about this, in the month of March, and I get that it's based on the amount of games that are played, but in 10 games, Luka Doncic, his field goal attempts, 51% of those 51% of those were threes. And in the month of March, he shot about 43%. That's ridiculous. So and we remember, we remember going into the beginning of the year. That's one of the things that Luka has said himself that he wants to improve on is um, is his 3 point
Mm.
shot. I think, and I don't remember how he voiced it or whatever, because I know once he talked about him wanting to improve his shot with his opposite hand. He wanted to get better shooting with his left. Whether I would imagine this is definitely more under the basket with being able to switch off and help him draw fouls. But the other thing he talked about is he wanted to improve his three. So, I mean, and this is definitely the way to do it. So, and I did not include April because we're only 3 games in, but he is shooting about 37% from three. So, uh, if you take that one game out where he was only 1 of 8, then he's still on an amazingly positive track here. Um, but the one thing that kind of sticks out to me is the fact that one could argue maybe he's not as aggressive as maybe he's not so much as aggressive. He he could be playing a little more methodical now. As you can see, January he was averaging a triple double over the course of 15 games, which 15 is the highest package of games for a month based on the schedule. February and March weren't that large, but in the month of April, it's going to be the largest with 16. So, and this month, I feel kind of favors Dallas. Um, going into it, obviously Utah Jazz was going to be one of the tougher matchups. We still got to play Milwaukee again. We got a back to back against the Lakers. So if I chalk up an L on all 3 of those games, now obviously this is injury dependent on who plays for not only us but for who plays for the Lakers specifically, and I don't know if I would have to check up on this again. But, you know, if we see a healthy Lakers team with LeBron and Anthony Davis, then sure, I can chalk them up as an L most likely. It is, as much as I would say we would win all 16 games, it's just you can't say that. But um, I think best case scenario for Dallas, April should be their month, especially when you judge the strength of schedule. Those 2 Laker games, the Sixers game, maybe we'll see, and the Bucks game. We could be sitting at 12-4 at the end of April when it's all said and done. That's a pretty good best case scenario there, and that should be the safe bet because I'm not worried about the Rockets, who we play tomorrow. I'm not worried about Detroit. I'm not worried about the Kings, and I'm not worried about the Spurs. There's some other matchups in there that I'll have to freshen up upon. But, you know, do I think Dallas is hitting its stride now? I think they might be. One of the biggest things that I was hoping that they would, address is their bench depth. Um, they got another 3 point shooter in JJ Redick, who I'm hoping comes to the court soon, and that was just one of the things with this team. We're looking at a group of guys who can do a little bit of everything. Jalen Brunt, I'm talking guys like Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, and Luka, obviously, Porzingis. So there's a lot of players on this squad that are well-rounded to where you think about it. Well, who's really the specialist on the team? There isn't necessarily a specialist, and that's where JJ Redick comes in, which opens the playbook a little bit more because you know what you can do with him, and that's not to say that you don't know what to do with the rest of the guys on the squad. And I'll include Maxi Kleber in there because he's also a 3-point shooter, but it's like their roles their roles to me aren't as necessarily defined as JJ Redick's would be. He comes in solely for that 3-point game, those getting those quick screen handoffs, making sure to get himself in space for a good look. Still shoots fairly well from three. I think he's a career upper 30s, maybe 41% 3-point shooter, something like that. And um, I think what he's going to do the most is that he's going to fill the void of Seth Curry. And, I still don't agree with the trade to this day. But if JJ Redick can come in and, like I said, if he can really um, fill that role that Seth did last year and really being there efficiently from 3-point range, which takes a little bit off of Luka's shoulders and other guys on the team that like to shoot the three. I feel we could be in an even better prime position going forward, especially for that playoff push. But that's going to do it for this video. Yeah, like I said, I'm hoping that I can get some sort of plan going for next week. I'm excited about this second Sixers matchup with my Mavs, and I'm hoping for a good one, and we'll see. But this has been Lindy End Zone. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.